Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 10, Episode 4 of Tap the Craft Podcast. I am Daniel Lewis coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I just got back from Fort Lauderdale. I was on a beer adventure a little.
Okay.
But I'm doing really good tonight. And really excited about chatting with our guest tonight, Denny.
Excellent. Who is our guest? Who do we have tonight?
Our guest is Mr. Mike DeLancett. Did I say that last name correct?
You did.
I nailed it. I freaking nailed it. Yeah. And guys, we're really excited to embark on another craft beer journey with Mike. And he is the founder and brewer of MYTHK Brewing. And Mike, I dug through your website and the stuff that you guys have in there about just how you guys function and operate. I really appreciated, awesome. how you guys have kind of a firm belief in the power of quality and also community too. But you guys source your best real ingredients. Like you guys are a craft malt certified brewery, right?
Yeah, we're actually, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think we're the first brewery that's craft malt certified from inception. So I actually have been working with a lot of craft maltsters over the years. And now that I've got this project of our own, we were just like day one commitment to using that product. So.
Yeah. Well, I really like how you guys function. I don't remember what you called them on your website, but I would call them like core values. When you guys are talking about not only honoring the tradition of sharing stories over a drink, but like, guys, you bring people together through things like unity and intention, curiosity. Toil was one of my favorite ones, right?
Yeah.
Like putting in the work.
It's the brewer's life for sure. Yeah. It's my little Unabomber manifesto on there. I had to start re-editing it. I was like, this sounds a little culty. Yeah. But the bottom line, I've done a lot of jobs in my life. Like I'm definitely kind of a Renaissance man in the sense, like I started in the recording field. I've worked in legal. I've worked in flood extraction, crime scene cleanup stuff. Like it's been all over the place. So kind of the unifying factor of everything I always found satisfying were the jobs where you did a day's work and there was a result at the end of it. And that's definitely something that like helps quiet all those voices in your brain that are just like trying to find satisfaction in life. Is like, hey, what if we just go sweat our ass off today? And then there's a thing at the end that we did, something palpable.
Yeah. I when I was in high school, I worked on a lot of farms. And one of the things every summer that I hated, but it always gave me that feeling that you just explained, that, hey, after the end of the day, we worked hard and I had something to show for it. Was when we did hay, when we would go and take the hay from the field and we'd get it from the field and delivered, stacked in the loft. And I was getting, back then, this is in the 80s, I was getting 5 cents a bale stacked in the barn. Yeah. And our goal was to get 1,000 bales to earn $50 a day. And I was dead tired, but you know what? At the end of it, you could see what we
felt
did.
Accomplished.
I felt accomplished. Yeah. Yeah. And I realized I didn't want to do that when I grew up,
Yeah. The wisdom of effort.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, great.
Well, Denny, I can't leave you out too. Like, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Today is Labor Day, by the way. And it was a day off for me. I know, Chris, you normally have Mondays off, but for me, it's special to have a Monday off because nobody likes to work on Mondays. Especially me. So I just kind of, I had a plan to do some work in the yard and stuff. We had a rainy weekend. We didn't go camping this weekend because we try to stay away from the busy weekends to go out with everyone else. So we bookended it, right? We went last weekend. We're going to go this next weekend. And I was planning on doing some work around the house, I did get some yard work done, but it was raining most of the weekend. Today it didn't rain, it was a little windy. And I just, I felt kind of lazy. So I just kind of sat, put together some show notes. I drank some beer. I actually drank some MYTHK beer today and enjoyed that. We're going to drink some more MYTHK beer here in a second. Let our listeners know what, some of the beers that we have on the show. Let them know about the unique beers that you make and the flavors. Looking forward to trying the two that we have tonight. But yeah, I'm doing well. I've been looking forward to, chatting with you, Mike, about Mythic ever since Chris found you. Was it at a festival, or how did you find Mythic?
So I tried one of his first beers, actually the rye lager that I sent to you. I tried that at a local restaurant, and then Tina and I and one of our trainers went to like an oddities convention.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I happened to walked by Mike, and I saw the logo on the table, and I saw the artwork and stuff from their labels and stuff. And I went, it was just a quick glance, but like something caught my attention. I went, that looks familiar. And then I looked back again and I was like, why do I know this name? Oh yeah, we were just talking about you. And I was like, hey, we were just talking about you on the podcast. And he goes, Tap the Craft. And I went, yes. So
yeah, we do a lot of partnering up. My brother owns an oddity shop over here in Orlando, and we have quite a few friends in that community throughout the state. So, and whenever they do a big event, I try to tag along because, there's a little crossover audience between like Nordic, metal kid, beer, there's a nice mishmash of that in the community.
Well, I mean, you don't get much more of a crossover than me. I stand out like a sore thumb at an event like that.
Because you're so tall?
Not just because I'm so tall. Like you can tell I don't fit there, but like I don't care. I fit anywhere.
Everybody fits there. That's the beauty of it. It's just whoever wants to be there.
Yeah. And I can kind of chameleon wherever I go. Like I talked to so many people I was there, whether it was vendors or just people out and about. But like, yeah, I was kind of joking with the people I was with. I was like, I look a little different than everybody else here.
You got your contacts.
You just got to grow your beard out a little longer too. Right?
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Well, hey, Mike, hold on a second. We're going to get some business out of the way, and then we're going to go and we're going to dive into your craft beer journey. We love to hear about our guests' craft beer journeys. Actually, all of our listeners' craft beer journeys as well. So just wait just a second. We'll get right to you on that. Actually, we'll have a beer too before we get to you. Before we grill you.
Let's have beer.
Loosen up a little.
Yeah.
All right. But as I mentioned, before we get started, we always want to let everyone know what the show is all about. Tap to Craft is an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 238, recording on Monday, September 4th, 2023. And we are live on Facebook. If you'd like to join us during our recording session sometime, just join us on the Monday before release at 8:30 Eastern time. And in this episode, we are going to learn about MYTHK Brewing with owner brewer Mike DeLancett, as well as some tasting notes on a couple of their beers as well. And of course, you can count on some great beer conversation. Now, let's get that conversation started because I am thirsty and I want to dive into our first beer from MYTHK. And Chris, I went ahead and decided to go with the Halloween Forever as our first beer. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Actually, I like how Mike described this to me when I picked it up from him. I mean, if you guys didn't know, he's here in Florida too, and it's starting to be pumpkin season, and or pumpkin beer season, and even here we still get our pumpkin beers. But Mike, do you remember what you told me about that when you said it was like
give you the brewer's beer vibe on that?
Yeah, that, and it's like it's kind of like fit for Florida.
So it's I drink primarily on my porch if I'm not drinking in someone else's brewery, and it's always hotter than hell. So they're like, what if we did a pumpkin ale where you could sit out and it's 96-degree heat index and you didn't hate yourself afterwards? You can finish the whole pint and sit down. And then we were actually developing it. One of the guys that over at Sideward where we brewed it was doing a check-in on it, and he was like, it's kind of a brewer's beer, it's definitely like not as like over the top as some other pumpkin ales. And I was like, that's what we were going for. So that was definitely like the vibe. I've done a ton of pumpkin ale in my life. Like it's kind of one of my paths along the way starting into everything was a couple of my friends are really big in the film and particularly horror film scene. And so we had a blog where we just sort of like went on a hunt to find pumpkin ales that weren't terrible. And
Okay.
Like that.
so we've gone all across the spectrum over the years. We used to do like 5 or 6 for parties, and all like smoked this and candy bars and whatever we could just to make them interesting. So this was kind of like our, like, what if we made a pumpkin beer that we hope like not only people enjoy, but we can really like stand behind, because there's a stigma around pumpkin ale.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very warranted and sometimes it's not. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge pumpkin beer fan, mainly because, like you said, a lot of times they go over the top with the spices, and I like the pumpkin beers that, that use the spices to complement the malt that they have in there, and the pumpkin, addition. And so those with the subtle flavors are really good. I also really enjoy the pumpkin beers that are darker, like stouts, because those malts, those dark roasted malts, really go well with some of those spices, as long as I'm, again, not overdone. So, but there are some pumpkin ales that I really do enjoy. And let me just quickly read what you had to say here on the can. Well, let me introduce the beer. You kind of did already.
Yeah.
But what you have here is a pumpkin ale brewed with real pumpkin, brown sugar, vanilla, allspice, cinnamon, cloves, and mace. It comes in at 5.9% ABV, 15 IBUs, and as you mentioned, brewed and packaged by Sideward Brewing in Orlando, Florida. And we'll get into why that is in a little bit later. But I just want to note that that's where this one was brewed. And what you said on the can here is made with beautiful Riverbend craft malt, heaps of our favorite orange gourd Belgian candy sugar, which I'm already intrigued by that, a kiss of sun-cured Madagascar vanilla beans, and the finest spices we could put in our hands. We hope it evokes your favorite fall treats and a crisp autumn day, no matter when you open it. We may not get a real fall season in Florida, but we can always pretend it's Halloween forever. So I love how you, as Chris already mentioned, right? I've perused your website. I perused it after Chris first mentioned it, because he mentioned your artwork, which that's the first thing that stands out when he's mentioned your brewery, and I went to visit. It was, your artwork is fantastic.
Absolutely. That's so I mean to cut you off there, but
no.
Actually the t-shirt I'm wearing is our artist. He's Eric Salston. He's out of Denver, Colorado. He's actually originally from Tampa. He used to be a brewer over at Motorworks.
Oh, really?
But super talented guy. Like, if I consider his talent a super ability, because I can't draw anything. But we're very lucky, like, to have run into each other, have a lot of things in common. And he's doing all the stuff for us, but he's also he's kind of having his own little renaissance right now, blowing up. He just did a thing for Black Braid's new tour, which is like a Native American black metal band that's really cool. I did an Alice in Chains. I forget exactly which anniversary it was, but it was for a box set for them. Smashing Pumpkins poster for this last tour that came through. So we have a lot of like common ground over music and beer.
That's pretty awesome.
Mythology and history and all that kind of stuff. So awesome dude. Check him out. He's Eric D. Salston, SAHLSTEN on Instagram.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I'll try to put a link in the show notes for our listeners to go and find him, because I really appreciate his artwork. I kind of put my own kind of I don't want to say stereotype, but what I got from it is like, it's kind of like a Gothic style with using black, gray.
So all his art is actually pen and ink, like stippling techniques and everything. You can see some of the process videos of how he does it, but some of his works are hours, some of them are hundreds of hours.
Wow. I
actually snagged these like years before we opened from him, a couple of like our original art pieces, because he was doing like they call it like Inktober, like some internet trend where they're trying to put out pieces over a certain period of time over the month of October. And he did this whole series of animals from Norse mythology. So I actually have the original that he did of the Hugin the Mune and Odin's two ravens. But it's fun because it's like a little note piece that's like this big. And then we have
That's
like
it,
the
huh?
amount of detail that you see when you blow it up, like when it's packed to this size, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the artwork is very cool. And I just love the fact that it's not over the top, right? It's got, like you said, the pen, the shading, the stippling, and the color, that, light hues of purple and blue mixed in with the gray and black, just, I mean, really gives it a pop. It's a mild pop, not a
We definitely
bold
like
pop, but
we had a lot of like the other person in our art team is my cousin, Amy Lynch. She does a lot of like the layout and bringing together, and kind of helped us find like our design between the raw art that Eric was doing and having a brand together. And she's a genius at that sort of stuff. But we really were looking around, and it's funny because art has come so far in beer labels in the last 10 years. Like we used to have the complaint of like, this beer is fantastic, but the art is terrible. But we kind of went in the reverse of like, everything's super colorful and very loud on the shelf. So in order to kind of stand off of it, we decided to go for that more understated, like here's a pop of foil for some flash. More like desaturated tonally kind of vibe, and really echo a little bit of like an old world fun thing.
And like you said, throwing in that little touch of gold, in some of the things, really, like, it's nice. I think it's well done, and I just wanted to let you know that I think, and some of our listeners that have commented on it, they also appreciate the artwork as well. So it seems to be stuff that people really gravitate towards.
Awesome.
Okay,
It's always great to hear, for sure.
Let's get into the beer now. So first off, it smells like a pumpkin ale. I can definitely smell the clove and the allspice.
I grabbed the right can.
The allspice comes in with a little bit of sweetness on the nose as well, maybe from the vanilla. It smells great. It did have a head, but I was talking so much, it kind of died down. But it does have an unfiltered and really dark amber copper almost coloring to it. Not too.
It might be the haze on your glass.
It might be a haze on my glass. Yeah, maybe it's clear. It's actually, I had that rye lager, and the rye lager was definitely cloudy compared to what I was expecting. Is your beer normally unfiltered?
Yeah, so everything we do is unfiltered. We try to like kind of keep that rustic lager vibe in. We've really struggled a little bit with marketing stuff because like the rye lager isn't really a specific beer style that ties to. It's kind of inspired by a few different beers that I love. And also the fact that I just kind of love rye beers, and nobody's putting that out in the American market. Everybody's experience with rye beer is rye IPAs from 5 to 10 years ago. And it has particularly like Riverbend has done a great job of digging in and trying to sort of resurrect regional varietals of grains and stuff that really give us some interesting flavor opportunities. So I like to play with a lot of that sort of stuff in there and really kind of put the grain at the forefront of the beer, because we're paying the money to have a really nice product from that craft malt. I very much look at that craft malt side as being what we do on the ingredient. And so there are some amazing epic giant maltsters, but if you want something that's super interesting and unique and a little more old world mentality for beer, I think that regional malt is a core thing for us.
I have some questions on that in a minute, but I want to taste this beer and talk about the beer a little bit more. And then we'll go into the malt, because I am very interested in the malt and Riverbend, as you already mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and take a sip, Chris. And you probably already had it, haven't you?
No, I'm surprised that you tried them already.
I only tried the lager.
Okay.
Because I was going to have it I was only do 2 beers on the show.
Okay. Because I was normally when we try stuff, you're like, no, I wanted to wait for the show, and I wanted to give my real input on it.
Yeah. I want to I want to come out genuine and just off the cuff. I will say, you're not kidding about refreshing. This beer caught me by surprise, because when I smelt it, I was thinking, well, it's going to be a little sweet and it's going to really play on those spices. And I was afraid I was going to be turned off against it. But I'll be honest with you, spicing is just right.
Yeah.
And it comes across super refreshing and almost like a lighter. It feels lighter than it should be, especially looking as dark as it looks.
Yep.
I would expect it to be a little bit heavier, but man, this beer really comes. I mean, I could see you drinking this on your 96-degree porch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And enjoying it.
And I was thinking the same thing, not only looking at it, but smelling it too, Denny.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting almost like the mouthfeel to be even a little heavier. And
Yeah.
it's not like a sugary sweet thing either. It's just everything plays together very well. And nothing is too overpowering. It kind of all blends in very nicely.
And you know what, I can taste the mace in the finish. And it's something that I haven't, I think that maybe that's one of the things I haven't experienced in pumpkin beers is the addition of that, because it does make the beer finish off. You know, it cuts that sweet, like
a little crisper, dry. Makes it
more crisp.
That's exactly like I really found I loved mace and pumpkin ales. For those who don't know, mace is like the casing of a nutmeg. And it really kind of pulls some of that soapiness that nutmeg can contribute. And nutmeg's just a pain in the butt to process, like grinding it in and trying to get it to actually soak into a lower alcohol product is not super fun. So we started playing with that years ago in different variations, and I definitely like how it crisps up the end. It
works. It works very well. And it just caught me off guard. I hadn't. I don't know. This is. I mentioned not liking pumpkin ales. There's a few I do like that I will give props. This is definitely a props from me.
Thank you.
Again, the reason is you use the spices just right to give you the feel of fall and winter, autumn beer without overdoing it. And it just works really well with that quality malt you have as well. Just great flavor. I'm enjoying. I've already drank half the glass, and that's not. My wife is a big pumpkin ale fan, and we used to go to Washington, Seattle. They have the Great Pumpkin Beer Fest. We used to go.
Oh yeah, the old Elysian Festival up there.
Yeah, and I'd go for her, and I would try a bunch of ones. I always want to try things because maybe I'll find one I enjoy, and there are ones like I do enjoy Avery's Rumpkin. Barrel aged.
I always recommend Almanac's Heirloom Pumpkin Barley Wine is one of the best.
That one's really good.
In my encounters.
That one I've had that one. That's really good. But there are a few that I really do enjoy. But now my wife's not able to drink for a few years. She's getting better. She's getting some stuff done. But once she comes back to drinking, we'll probably head back to Seattle for some more pumpkin beer. She misses her pumpkin beer. But I'm also need to. If you're still brewing this one when it comes time, I'll have to get Chris to send me some for Sarah so she can try as well. But very good, very good. All right. What about let's talk a little bit about the malt. You mentioned Riverbend, and I saw that you mentioned that specifically in the description of this beer, as well as some of the other beers that you have on the website. Why did you pick Riverbend? I know you wanted to do quality craft malting. I'm guessing that Riverbend's a small maltery that does.
So actually, well, to their credit and the credit of their product, they're actually, I believe, on the Forbes list of the fastest growing companies in the nation this year, and I think they were last year as well. But I actually met the Riverbend guys kind of purely by a bit of accident and also my own just bravado of going up and knocking on their door one day. My folks used to live up in the mountains in Appalachia, and we would get over to Asheville pretty often. And when I was in the early days of starting out my brewing career, I just saw there's a maltster here. Mm-hmm. You do the tour, you do Sierra Nevada, you do like all the things that have popped up. I guess back, I don't even know if Sierra Nevada was there yet at that point. But I just went up and looked up the address and knocked on their door, and they were kind enough to welcome me in and walk me around and ask me a million questions about malt that were way deeper than anything I understood at that point. And it just kind of had the frank conversation of, do brewers care about this? And I was like, Somebody might, but I'm like too much of a noob right now to really like fully get it. So it's interesting. But yeah, so they have a lot of initiatives that I love, but that's how we met.
Okay.
And they really started out doing stuff to kind of work with farmers there to plant the different grains as cover crops that were winter resistant. So rye and wheats and stuff that were winter hardy, instead of people just doing fields of hay and selling the hayseed cut. They would instead have a crop they could sell back to them. And originally all the stuff at Riverbend was floor malted. Everything was steeped and pulled out on the floor and hand turned and everything.
Wow.
And then it would go to kiln, and they had their original dehusking machine was an antique one that they had rebuilt. It's still in the facility today, but they've outgrown it by a substantial amount. But increasingly over the time as my career progressed, I would run into more and more of these maltsters at CBC and all their events around GABF and that sort of stuff. And we met guys out of Europe that were doing the same thing over there. They were making some beautiful stuff. A number of like Western maltsters doing things like that. So it's always a little bit more of a tariff on it because it's an artisan product and it's small batch predominantly. So and especially in the early days, there was more of like a supply chain issue of like, well, we made this much of it and the acreage sold, so we're good until next year.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's really grown up enough now that we can lean on them for core product stuff, and they have, you know, a handful of always available malts that are really quality for us. So
are they the 100% that you just use 100% Riverbend, or
I would say we probably use about 97% Riverbend.
Oh wow. Okay.
The only reason it's not 100% is they don't really get into the kilned malts end of things very much. And so when you're looking for like color malt, that's not like the sort of traditional like Vienna, Munich realm of things. Every once in a while we have to branch out from that. So just to add something like, oh, we want a dark beer, we need some dark malt.
It's still a pretty significant portion.
Vast majority of the base of everything, and a lot of the beers are entirely that. Hold on, my child is screaming for his mother.
That's fine.
But she'll be right back. She's just out with the dog.
We don't hear him.
So he told me earlier today, he was like,
I was neglecting my kid.
Yeah, he goes, so we're trying to keep my 5-year-old quiet during the show, and I was like, he can come on and say hi.
No. Chris can't keep his 5-year-old quiet. His dog is Cajun in the room with him.
No, he's in his kennel. Yeah, he's
the dog's being surprisingly good, but
good. Yeah, we're kid and dog friendly.
Yeah, I sent him the video of when we were talking to Dave Doble when he walked through, and his daughter was like, "Hi."
Yeah, no problem. Well, all right, let's again, just wanted to thank you for the beer. Really enjoyable pumpkin ale. It's going to be a highly rated one from me. I'm going to sip this while we continue the conversation, because we are sponsored by our Patreon supporters, and this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Slimmer, Kevin and Amanda Argauer, Mike Blanchard, Tara Carlson, and Jim Kutzel, and Alex Fuchs, who are our virtual producers, Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, and Eric Gromley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer, or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Okay, Mike, you've been doing a great job taking our questions and answering them really well. Now we want to go ahead and dive a little bit closer to your heart. Talk about your craft beer journey, because we really do enjoy learning about how our listeners and how our guests got involved in craft beer, and how your craft beer journey has evolved over time. So the first question is the easy one, right? How did you discover craft beer? At what point in your life did you decide to try out this crazy craft beer thing instead of drinking whatever was available to you, but with your friends that may not have been craft beer?
No, absolutely. So I think my first beer I ever had was a Michelob Amberbach, which great gateway beer, multi-boy all the way. But it came about in a weird way. I was in metal bands with my brother and doing that sort of thing. That was the background of where we were coming from. And my family is, particularly on my father's side, he's a first generation Belgian American citizen.
Oh, okay.
So even though he doesn't drink beer that much, I have to like kind of force things at him. Be like, try this. I think you'll like that one. It's still dark beer and light beer to him.
Yeah.
But because of that, we were, wandering the liquor stores, and there's a shop in Orlando here called Big C. It was very close to where we were living out by UCF at the time, and they had a great selection back then of all the import beer that you could ever want, and the increasingly intensive ABVs that everybody's seeking out when you're trying to get wrecked and go play metal.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of a thing. So Golden Drac was kind of like our first big dive into like, just like, hey man, you guys have never had anything like this before. I actually reached out. Shot in the dark was like kind of my philosophy on everything we did back in those days, and opened a lot of doors for us. So highly recommend just trying, even if you don't have a shot.
Dude, it's literally one of my favorite sayings.
Global Beer Network, and got a hold of a brewery rep, and they actually sponsored our band. So here we were as like a relatively small following metal band, and with every once in the blue moon they would kick us a few kegs and we would put them on and kill our audience, because you would come in the door and get a free 8.5% Belgian barley wine double hybrid kind of thing. And we were also sponsored by Rockstar at the time, so the combination of people just crushing those two things, you get the phone call. It's like, yeah, I went home and woke up naked in my car. Like, cool.
You guys know how to have a good time.
I wouldn't recommend it. Like, there were bad hangovers in those days, like tequila and Golden Drac. Wouldn't recommend that. But that kind of opened us up the gate of just like anywhere we went to, we were trying what was cool and local, and fell in love with Dogfish in the early days, particularly their like historical beer series. Again, I'm kind of a mythology and history nut, and that's always been all our family vacations and stuff, historical reenactments, and going to see Fort Ticonderoga and wherever we went in Europe. And so that led me down a path of kind of getting more and more into craft beer, and Cigar City popped on the scene, which I think is probably a seminal brewery for anybody who lives in Florida. And back in the day, the selection and variety of everything they were just cranking out that came off their head, every Friday we went and checked to see what new bombers had landed and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how we came into it. It was definitely a eye-opening option to sort of see how much beer was out there, and the world of beer that exists before world of beer existed.
Well, would you say that the Amberbach was your gateway beer?
I would. It's definitely like, it was the first thing that I had that wasn't just the yellow fizzy light beers my uncles drank when we were kids, and that sort of thing. And while I love some of those beers now, it was just the first thing I'd ever had that had a substantial malt feature in it that appealed to my sweet tooth, and just something different. So
okay, well, you mentioned just trying things, just going in blind and trying whatever whatever you find. Was there any styles that you tried that you just hated at first, but then maybe you grew to enjoy later on in your craft beer journey?
I think I almost did the reverse. Like, I don't like bananas. Like, it's weird. Like, I can eat like Maduros, and that's about like plantain kind of thing. But like regular bananas are kind of ick for me. So like, I started with Belgian wit beer, which I really enjoyed, and was like trying to work into like Hefeweizen, and like in the early days, like not entirely sure what the differences were. And I've just kind of come to dislike Hefeweizen more and more. I respect it. I have a lot of respect for Hefeweizen, and it's very difficult to make a good one. Well, a lot of my challenges in my brewing career have been to be like, let's make a Hefeweizen that's good enough that other people like it.
So you mentioned Hefeweizen, but which type of Hefeweizen, American or German? Which one is the
Um,
one that
I,
you
I,
struggle with?
I would say I probably, of all the beer styles in the world that I have one of the most limited interactions with, it's American Hefeweizen, because I would consider the German ones to probably be majority better made. And so
Yeah.
I haven't, since I don't particularly like the style, I haven't
Yeah.
ventured that far into the other ones. I know like Live Oak and a couple other folks have some legendary ones, and I would try them and politely drink them if they were sat in front of me, but I would not seek them out for my own personal enjoyment.
Understood.
Well,
I do like, ironically, Weizen box a lot,
yeah.
but when you
Okay.
start, when you start getting more of like the caramel foundation
Mhm.
and stuff in there, and some other things going on, they become a lot more enjoyable to me. But yeah, Hefeweizen, not for me.
not for you. Well, if you had to pick one that you're just like, this is my absolute favorite style, then what would you go for that?
Man, that's always a hard call for me. Like,
Same.
fortunately, you sent me some questions ahead of time, so I got to muse on them a little. I would say probably the beer. There's like 2 or 3 beers that I would never pass on. One of them is Armand and Gaston by Dry. It's their like kind of house lambic goose blend,
Mhm.
and it is one of my favorite things. I've always said like that particular brewery has a very interesting aspect of their funk that I can't place beyond that. It's nostalgic to me, and that there was a smell in my aunt's house in Miami growing up that I detested with all of my core. And that smell is part of the funk in Dry beers. And now it's super nostalgic to me. So I love it. I've kind of come full circle on that. Terrace Bulba, fresh from Brasserie de DeLancett. It's the perfect American pale ale, but it's from Belgium. They just really, if you know kind of vibe. But unfortunately, it's increasingly difficult as imports over here seem to kind of drop off, with the American market getting so big domestically with great craft beer. But if you ever get a chance to get a freshie of that, it is one of probably the most balanced drinking hoppy beer I've come across.
Nice.
And I got to check my notes on here because
You have notes?
I am scatterbrained. Oh, XX bitter. Just so again, Belgian hoppy, pale. I don't remember off the top of my head if XX is a ale or a lager, but it sits in that like kind of like hoppy Pilsner zone. Just a great crushable beer.
All right. Okay, well, let's move into, you mentioned you had a wide variety of experiences. What led you to actually brewing beer?
Brewing's a weird path for me. So I had been in the recording industry for the better part of a decade, did the whole like Full Sail thing, worked for a major label studio in town. And I was joking with my brother the other day when we talk about stuff. I'm like, I wonder how much people think we're just full of shit all the time. Because we have so many varied stories and career paths and weird experiences and celebrity, like 1 degree of Kevin Bacon's away kind of thing. But yeah, so that company, the owner had embezzled like $300 million from his investors, and the umbrella company that owned all of it. And one day the FBI just like showed up and shut the door on us. And so I had bought a house with my brother as like an investment at the time, because the money doing that was pretty good. And then the market fell out. And we ended up kind of stuck in this house. Couldn't really move away to take a job somewhere else. There's not a whole lot of recording jobs in Orlando that were paying at that level. So we started taking a bunch of weird, odd jobs along the way. And I got into the hobby of scent distillation. So I have a little copper still, and we would go out and find like interesting things that smelled awesome and try to like distill the oils out of them and get different things and blend it together. And super into the cocktail side, big bourbon guy, absinthe and that sort of stuff. So we started like playing around with that sort of thing. Really starting to get our feet under us and maybe doing something with that professionally, and kind of looked at all the rules, and everyone I talked to was like, oh yeah, you basically just have to do it illegally until you can legally do it to establish yourself. And I was like, well, that sounds terrible. And my father, who's a 35-year legal career path, will probably hate that and not support that. So a couple of friends or acquaintances from high school are opening a brewery in town, and I knocked on their door just to kind of get a foot into the alcohol industry. Started volunteering over there, and that started me off.
Dude, you knock on a lot of people's doors.
I mean, my number one dating advice to everybody is try, because you can shoot a lot higher than you think you can, and you'll never know if you don't. And if you're just like have a zero fucks given attitude and don't worry about rejection, then you can achieve a lot of things in your life that you're holding yourself back from.
Yeah.
So not only do we get great beer, but we also get life lessons too.
That is a great lesson. And again, we have something in common, because we have I'm married now to my wife of soon to be 34 years. We were next door neighbors. I moved in next to her, and she actually was my worst rejection of a girl that's ever rejected me before. Was my current wife. I went over there to introduce myself, and she just shot me down like hard. And I'm just like, well, I guess this is not meant to be.
That's not meant to be.
But you know what? When I did that, she realized that, hey, this guy is maybe not as bad. Maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on him. And then we ended up getting together a year or two later. But if I would have never tried, maybe she would have never really noticed, that I was there.
You wouldn't have gotten that second shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I went and put myself out, got shot down, but you know what? It all paid off in the end, because we've been married for a long time now.
Hell yeah. And you lived through the first one.
Yeah.
I relate it back to, like, we were in martial arts a lot growing up as kids. And my brother and I always had the philosophy of people that have just never been punched in the face before. It's like when you get hit in the face the first time, it's shocking.
Yeah.
And it's disorienting, and all this stuff happens. And then you realize that you didn't die.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't as bad as
I
I
either
thought.
hit back or flee or whatever you need to do to fix the situation. But like, there's so many people on this planet walking around who you can tell have like never really put the risk out or encountered the consequences of something, and it shows. And we're just like, that's the difference of like life experience to me is, sometimes you just gotta take the plunge, and if it ain't meant to be, you'll find out pretty quick.
Yeah. And you call it your shot in the dark. My favorite saying is there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
It was right along the same lines of that. But I do like the thought of, you just look like you've never been punched in the face before.
No, it's like life is inherently risk. Like you'll rarely meet somebody who's very successful in life who didn't take kind of sometimes even a dumb risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always struggled with that because in a lot of ways I'm an overthinker of things. So it's kind of like just have to shut it off and do it and see what happens. But my father, as I mentioned, is 35 plus years in the league, probably closer to 40 now in the legal profession. Everything is about mitigating risk for those guys. So my life growing up was always about like, don't do this, don't do that, do this to protect yourself, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, but you also have to find that path forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I like that. I love it. Again, we get life lessons and good beer too, Denny. This is good stuff. So Mike, if you had to pick any a brewery that you admire, like right now at this moment, is there a brewery that you admire or that provides you with inspiration?
There's a lot of them, man. Like I'm kind of the lord of internet FOMO and trying to like plot out my next stop. Jester King's a big one. I don't know if y'all have ever been out there, but they have like 250 something acres of land outside of Austin, and they're using pretty much exclusively their own native yeast to make beer. And it's just, it's what you want at the end of the day in this industry of like, let's do something that's super awesome. and there's a place where you can go that's just absolutely beautiful and do that. And they're making beer styles that are probably not commercially viable to the average person. You know, and somehow they've made it into being a giant, super #1 rated brewery in the country. DeLancett and Fontaine, all of those guys who just kind of like dug into the history of their families and the experiences of the countries that they lived in and did it anyway, even when it wasn't viable, and stuck with it until it's now again a thing. That's super inspiring to me, and just kind of seeing the wisdom of being small and niche enough, but willing to adapt just enough to survive. I think that's really important. It's something I feel like the industry suffers from, a lot of bandwagoning, in the sense of like, hey, this thing's popular, and then now everyone's doing that thing. And we're seeing a lot more of like the capital driving the direction of the brewery rather than the beer. And I'm not going to say one or the other is the best way forward, but I see a lot less of like this was about, you know, I had the fortune of going over to like Belgium and Germany with the Shelton brothers a few years ago, and met some really awesome people that were multi-generational brewers. It's just not a thing. Like when you get to like 13 and 16 generations in a family brewery in Germany, it's a whole different level of pressure of like, oh, this is my umpteenth great grandfather's recipe, and if I screw it up, then I am the dishonor of our entire
dishonor to the
lineage,
family.
sort of thing. And all I really want to do is try to make an IPA because that's what the market wants. So those kind of things are super inspiring to me. Closer to home, Half Acre, I think they're a great measure of a brewery who makes fantastic beer and was able to grow and do things in a really organic way. And even like they have their own shop that builds all of their end caps and display and merchandise. So it's all done in house, and that's super cool. They did they do some pairing stuff with other brewers that are kind of emerging into their own projects. It's been really cool. Maine Beer Co. is another one. Just like
we're big fans of them.
Beers that are simple but elegant. Fantôme in Belgium, big one for me. It was really revealing to me to come from Germany and see all the super technical breweries and brewers and everybody stressing the minutia, and then walk onto Danny's porch and watch him chase a pigeon out of the mash tun. And be like, this is what farmhouse brewing is, man. Like, what do we got that will make alcohol today? That's super cool. And I think it's an underrated aspect of like farmhouse brewing. I'd love to go do some of like the Nordic country brewery tours and that like more like farm single home brewery mentality stuff, just because it's fascinating to me. It's kind of the origins of what we do, and the industrialization of it is just pretty modern. So
but it would probably, I was gonna say, it would probably point you to the fact that you might have FOMO about what a brewery is doing, but then you realize they're dealing with the same nonsense BS that you are in some form or fashion.
Oh, sure. And a lot of those guys, don't get me wrong, they're struggling to, there's a reason our beards get this gray at this age. I'm 42. The day-to-day of handling that sort of stuff and hoping that, do we use the right marketing term on our label to make sure that people are going to embrace this weird thing that we did? Or, like Bob Sylvester is a friend, and he was doing some magical stuff and brought Saison to the forefront in America, and he's an ambassador for Belgian beer to America. That's super awesome. And I know he had a really hard time with it. Like, he had a great time with it, but constantly having to educate your customer, everyone that walks through the door, getting them to embrace things, dealing with the struggles of a small business that's doing something niche and not wanting to sell it out because you're tired. Those are challenges that I think a lot of small breweries face. Scratch, another great brewery. It's doing really cool stuff, foraged beers and Stein beers and all kinds of like very laborious, intensive, toil-based beers that probably don't appeal to 80% of the average drinkers, but are just kind of works of magic almost.
Wow, that's you did your homework on that one. That was a good that was a good answer. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting
my
that
note cards
deep.
because I'm terrible at placing names to things. Like
No,
I'll known
no.
someone for 20 years and I'll just blank, especially when I'm drinking.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
it's
have to
okay.
look at my
You did good. I
reference
want to
points.
say one thing. The worry about whether or not you're marketing and stuff. I will say this. You impressed me quite a bit with the marketing you have, not only on your website, but on the cans themselves, because you provide what's needed right here on the label. And then on the side of the label, if people want more details, you provide that as well. So, and it's well worded, and you tell exactly what you did, what's special about this beer, right? Most times you might just get, it's a pumpkin ale, and people just say, oh, pumpkin ale, but you actually say pumpkin ale, and you actually go into details about what spices you have in there.
Absolutely. And that's very much by design for us.
Yeah.
I sort of hate the don't shop by a label, don't buy your wine by the label design. Of course you're going to buy it. The coolest looking thing on the shelf is what you're going to pick up. So you got to do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully what's in the product, what's inside of the package is good. And I am, my inner English major comes out there.
Okay.
It's not where I ended up, but it's where I probably would have in another life. But the loss of copy on beer packaging, just, I get it if it's like a German brewery that's been making the same product for 300 years.
Yeah.
It's 4 ingredients and we've been doing it this way for that long. But that whole, like our tagline, a story in every glass, I want you to sit and think about this. We have a QR code that takes you back to the website to force you to look at the art and the things we did and all of that sort of stuff. If you want to, I've had battles in the past with marketing departments and ownership of other breweries and sort of stuff where it was like, hey, we need to tell people what these things are on the menu. Like, if I'm going to make a historical beer or this unique beer style, I need to tell you where I came from on it. Or you're going to look at it and best
like,
it's intimidating, and at worst it's unappealing. And rye lager is a calculated thing on the beholders. Everyone's like, well, what's the beer style? And I'm like, oh no.
It's a lager, just shut up and drink it.
It's inspired by Vienna lager. It's sort of inspired by Marzen. It's sort of inspired by Rogan beer. It's none of those things.
It definitely, when I saw rye lager, I was expecting something. What I got was different than what I thought I was getting, because we're not tasting this on the show, but from the nose right away, I got a lot of caramel or sweetness from some of the caramel or toffee-ish type notes.
Yeah.
And then when I took the sip too, I'm like, wow, this has got a lot of, it shocked me because I wasn't expecting a lager to have that much caramel in it. Mostly cereal, bready dough, dough notes is what I've expected. And it caught me off guard, but it was enjoyable. And now I understand it's because it wasn't brewed as necessarily a strict lager. It was brewed as a combination of different beers, but you had to name it something. And the closest thing you had was,
it's a lager technically. The process is that of a lager. But absolutely. And that's sort of what we're aiming to do. Like, I like to subvert the mentality as like the same thing with our IPA. Our IPA doesn't say hazy or this or West Coast or East Coast, because it's not. It's me picking apart a few IPAs that I really adore and respect and sort of amalgamating them into something that I hope looks like an idealized version of what I would want to drink. So we made the conscious choice to kind of just be like, we're not going to define this for people. We want to let people make their own, and we're going to inform them of what the process looks like and what's in there. But we want you to come into it with an open mind, because we want to subvert your expectation.
Yeah.
Well, on a marketing standpoint too, because like even Denny said, he goes, well, I'm not really the biggest fan of pumpkin beers. But then had he just taken that on the label and just went, no, I'm good, it's pumpkin beer, he would have missed out on it, right? And
I would have missed out on it.
And I love the fact that you guys aren't going, okay, well, it's this style. Because the whole reason that I met Denny was because I hated Belgian beers. And I'm like, how do you guys like these? These suck. And then they were just like, keep trying them. You got to find some other ones that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of different Belgian beers. So
Yeah.
I actually had a friend, he was visiting Greenville, South Carolina this last week. And I was like, you got to go to the Trapdoor. And he's like, it sounds Belgian. And then he's like, I don't mess with anything that's not Alambic.
Yep.
And I was like, just go. Like,
or
enjoy the
friends,
food and look at the menu until you find something you're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Or close friends or people that talk to us on the show that say the same thing. Oh, I don't like this style of beer. I don't like this. You just haven't found the right one yet.
Yeah. Keep trying. Keep trying. Okay.
Variety's the spice of life. Right?
Yeah, that's right. All right. So is there a brewery or beer style that is no longer around that you wish would make a comeback? Now, example, I was always a big fan of, back in the day, the Cascadian Dark Ale or Black IPA, and then it disappeared, but it made a comeback, and I'm glad. And now breweries are brewing it the right way, and it deserves a comeback because it's brewed as a real black IPA with that, roasty, hoppy character, not just a American stout. It's actually an IPA with dark malt. Is there a style or a brewery that disappeared that you would like to see come back?
That's an interesting one. I haven't used on a whole lot. I would say the first thing that comes to my brain is Cigar City's Jose Marti. I used to love that beer. It was one of their porters. It's been a long time since I've had it, but I remember loving the hell out of it. I'm a cigar guy, and it goes beautifully with a cigar. And it was, I guess, like, as a more of an overarching statement there, porters that aren't stouts.
Yes, exactly.
Like, there's definitely I love a good big boy stout. I know that some of the Angry Chair guys and those things are really, really fun for me, but I'm at 42 with acid reflux. I can't go that hard in the paint on those things anymore.
Exactly.
So I love a dark beer, something that was a little more toned in, and it just seems to have fallen out of style, I'm sure, because of sell-through on them. It just doesn't, it's not as extreme as what the average person who's uninitiated wants, and it's not as extreme as what the hype crew wants. And I like some hype stuff myself, but it's just one of those things where, like, I'm a big fan of beer I can drink on my porch.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect porch beer. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great answer.
Yep. All right. Well, when it comes to rating beers, if you were going to rate a beer, would you rate it based on your overall enjoyment or against other beers of the same style?
That's a toughie. So in the beer blog days, I would rate it both. Like, we actually had factors where we broke it down to include both angles. Just because not everything is going to be everyone's favorite cup of tea, and not everybody is informed enough to make that choice or like this informed decision of what that style really ought to be. So I'm not an Untapped fan. Like, they've done some positive things for the industry, but overall, I think the scoring, some of the best breweries in the world all average out to like 4-something stars. And it's just inevitable that everything is going to slowly trend towards a rating that is the middle of the road, because the more people you have the experience, you're going to get an average answer. So you can't look at that stuff as a roadmap for quality. You can look at it for a roadmap for your personal enjoyment of things. So I lean that direction. To be quite honest, in these days, I either don't rate a beer or I 5-star it, because it's either good and I want to bump that brewery's score up because I appreciate what they're doing, and kind of start like offset the other end of the spectrum who's 1-starring, oh, it's a Pilsner. And then if I don't like it, or it's just like fine, but I don't want to leave a bad impression with someone, I just don't rate it, because industry consideration.
No, and that makes good sense. I mean, it's just, hey, if you're gonna help bump up for another brewery, I mean, that just helps.
Shout out somebody who's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Don't tear down somebody who might have been having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or somebody who doesn't know any better, who just goes, ew, it was icky.
Yeah. I don't like sour beers. 1 star. Well, gee,
why did you buy this whole 12-pack from the brewery?
Yep. All right. Well, I have a bonus question for you that was not on the list that I sent you, and it comes from someone who I'm pretty sure you know, Mr. Sean Nordquist.
Oh, I do know him very well.
And he wanted you to tell us about snoot boops.
Ah, yes. Actually, hold on a second. I've got one sitting over here. I'll pull it.
Oh, we're gonna get a visual. For all you out there that aren't watching the video, you need to come watch the video.
That's Snoot Boops.
Okay, there's a dog on it. I'm in.
Yeah, he is my late dog, Tennyson. I have a never-ending hierarchy of huskies that come through our house. But he was an adoption. Actually, I'm going to review this label here because I'm trying to remember the exact details. We did number one. Sean used to be the executive director of the Florida Brewers Guild, so we did this as a guild collaboration beer. It's a barrel-aged old ale that we did, and all of the proceeds went, not all of the proceeds, but all of the profit, percentage of the profit, I don't remember the final details on it, went to support Seacrest Wolf Preserve up in the Panhandle here. Really awesome wolf rescue and operation that has like several packs on the property that they actually bring one of the animals in to live in the house when they have a new litter for a period of time, and then they reintroduce them back to the pack. So they're essentially wild packs that are human tolerant, and you can go in and walk the property with them. You basically walk in, sit down, the pack approaches you to investigate everybody, and once you pass the vibe check, you can walk the property with them.
Sounds like my everyday life.
Vibe check.
I don't care how cool you think your dog is. Your dog is not a timber wolf unless it's actually a timber wolf.
No,
They're
he's
huge
not.
animals, and I think most people don't have a perspective for that. Like everyone having huskies, everyone's like, "Oh, is it part wolf?" I'm like, "No, dog.
No.
He is like a foot and a half too short to be that."
Exactly.
And the wolves would be ripping this treat out of my pocket. But yeah, it was a really fun project we did with them. Old ales, again, that would have been a great style to put on the
of course
question. A few back there on styles that not too many people are doing, but blending beers and that historical tradition, super fun. I'm trying to remember what the barrel was on it. I have a terrible memory, Sean. I apologize. I want to say they were sherry and bourbon, but I do not remember.
Well, I honestly, I had no clue what it was, and he reached out because when I was sharing this event all over beer pages and stuff, God only knows where he commented on it, but he goes, ask him about snoot boops, and I was like, what the hell is that? All right, well, I'll try to remember.
Boop the dog's nose.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what it is. I mean, we do it a lot, but like, what is going to come out of this conversation? And that was really cool. I was not expecting.
I need to send you my fur affinity page.
Listen, I get bit by dogs for fun, like, so it's kind of like part of my everyday.
All right, well, you're off the hook for a few minutes, Mike. You did a great job on your craft beer journey. You nailed it, 100%, A+. Does
that mean it's time for another beer?
It is time for another beer. I think because we're having a great conversation, let's go ahead and do the second beer.
Okay.
Give Mike a little chance to rest his vocal cords, although we'll be asking you questions about the beer as well. And then we'll go right into the brew buzz. We're going to go ahead and save the voicemail for next episode because I want to make sure we don't keep Mike too long tonight, but I want to keep talking to him because I'm really enjoying our conversation. And I think our listeners will enjoy hearing more details about MYTHK Brewing instead of us cutting the questions short. All right, so I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page where we talk about our next MYTHK beer, the Oak Thorn. This is now we're going like a completely different style. We went with the adjunct ale, and now we're going with the sour wheat ale with chokeberry and lavender stems. So choke cherry, sorry. What is a choke cherry, by the way, Mike?
So the choke cherry, actually, choke cherry and chokeberry are really, really closely related.
Okay.
One is just the red version of it that's more common out west. But they're a little native cherry type fruit that grows predominantly wildly, but there are some farms that produce them for commercial consumption. They're very, very tart. They have like a really fun, bright, like think of a Montmorency cherry dried, where you've cranked that acid up pretty hard. And then the lavender stem thing is more, there's touches of that classic floral lavender to it, but what it really contributes more is almost like a kind of a kitchen spicy thing. And I found in that particular beer, I don't want to subvert your expectation or create an expectation rather before you taste it. So I'll let you get there. But once you've tasted it, there's an interesting thing that the two of them kind of combined to reveal that was a fun surprise even for us. So.
Okay.
So this is 4.4% ABV, 5 IBUs. So it's low on the bitterness unit. Brewed and packaged by Commerce Brewing out of Largo, Florida. In tribute to the bounty of nature provided by this great stag, we have created a refreshingly tart wheat beer, gently flavored by bright, sour choke cherries and balanced by the complex yet subtle floral and pie spice character of lavender stems. In tandem with Virginia-grown, craft malted Avalon pale malt and soft red winter Appalachian wheat from our friends at Riverbend Malt House, it is immensely drinkable. I love immensely drinkable, with a nuance enough character that is delicious while not being overly fatiguing to your palate. These are all great descriptions because these are all things I enjoy in beer. Nothing too over the edge, just complements each other and good quality ingredients. So I've been taking nose hits off of this, and it's deceiving because I can I almost smell some
smoky
tartness or something, but I mean, it smells like it might be a little bit tart, but I'm also getting, almost like oak barrel character out of this thing too, just out of the aroma, right? Which is interesting.
For sure.
I wasn't expecting.
There's definitely like some little like tannic acid thing going on with it.
Exactly.
I think that's the acid coming out of the choke cherry, and probably to some degree lesser the wood of the lavender stems, but the choke cherries definitely have a little bit of that like earthy superfood thing going on.
Earthy, definitely earthy. That's good. It's earthy. I'm going to tell you, when I see sour wheat ale, my mind is thinking of a certain thing, and this is totally not what I was thinking as far as the aroma so far. So I'm thinking the taste won't necessarily, maybe the taste will surprise me, and maybe those choke cherries will come out and give me that tartness.
Well, it's either we take a shot in the dark or there's only one way to find out. So here we go.
Oh, wow. Wow. What a unique experience that was. That totally took me off guard. It is tart.
But not tart. Really.
No, but it's got that,
it's still
right in the back of my throat. As you take a sip, you get that, I guess, astringency maybe, kind of.
Yeah, so you get that like lactic acid.
Yeah, the acid, but it's not but it's not acidic as far as like burning down my throat, right?
No, absolutely.
So
and that tannic, almost maple syrupy.
That's a surprise.
That's what I was
that's a surprise.
Yeah.
I was totally thrown off by the maple, and maybe that's where I was getting some of that woodiness or tannicky was maple. I wasn't expecting to have that flavor come out. And I'll tell you what, definitely not the beer I was expecting to drink, and very unique.
Maple syrup. So two of my favorite flavors in life are just peaches and maple syrup. But when I get maple syrup, but when you get maple syrup in beer, a lot of the time it's that artificial flavor. And
there's no maple syrup in this beer.
And you taste nothing but maple syrup for like the next 8 hours.
So that's something that we found emerged when you combine that choke cherry profile with the lavender stem profile, and then had that kind of like foundational malt sweetness pop right into. Oh wow!
I'll be
maple.
putting the rest of this in my glass.
Fantastic beer, Mike. You shocked me with this one. I was expecting something totally different, and you blew my socks off because, again, this beer is incredible. I really like the flavor. I like what you're like an alchemist, right? You mix these things together to give me something that I wasn't expecting. And and I don't like, I'll be honest with you too. I don't like maple syrup in things because it becomes too sweet. This is not that. This is that blend of those ingredients that give you the feeling or the taste of what you would get off of like pure maple syrup, but without the sweetness and without the, the cloyingness that you'd get from it. And wow, it really works well. And I'd call it like more like a tart wheat ale, because I wouldn't say, maybe it is sour, but to me it's kind of like a tart.
No, and that you're absolutely right. Like, so we actually always joke, like I have a lot of experience and background in wild beer and acid beers, and the European guys that make those beers always joke about the American palate. It's like this acetic forward stuff and stuff that's just got a pH that rips your tooth enamel off. Again, like I like the acid stuff. My life caught up with me, and heartburn is real. And
me too.
I love drinking. I'll make exceptions for some great things that are favorites, but I absolutely like that more Euro influenced palette of something that's a little more dialed in and a little subtler there. So I'm the same way. I used to drink a lot of, we just talked about was the last episode, Chris, or it was the episode before last. We talked about our favorite inn breweries, and one of mine was New Belgium back in the day, because I loved all their La Folie. Yeah, absolutely.
And
their Transatlantic Creek, one of my favorite.
all those were so well done. But the problem is as I got older, I couldn't drink them as much because my acid reflux. I have to watch my acid intake, because I've had a couple instances where I had to go to the emergency room because of problems. So I don't drink a lot of sour beers. I save them and I drink, one a month or something like that. And then I enjoy it, but I know that I don't want to drink a full 22-ounce bottle. I need to take it in small amounts. This is not that though. This doesn't have any of the enamel ripping off teeth stuff. No burn down your esophagus. I don't feel I'm going to have any problem with this tonight as well.
That's good.
But hey, great beer.
Thank you.
And again, I like to do this. Now, it works out well when I enjoy a beer that a guest has provided me without me knowing ahead of time. But this is Chris mentioned, I don't like to try the beers. I like to be honest with the people on here. If I don't like the beer, I'll tell you, not my favorite. This beer is really good though. So cheers to
love to hear that.
Well done
Cheers.
beer.
Yeah, lots of surprises tonight, huh, Denny?
Yeah, one of my favorite sour beer experiences. We did a festival that no longer happens, unfortunately, but called the Funk Collective up in the Carolinas. It was Birds Fly South and Revelry Brewing, kicking it back and forth between their two breweries. But I walked in and I knew somebody got it because there was just like Costco-sized Tums containers on like every table. And I was like, this is how we're going to get through the next 5 hours.
So it's interesting because we have a festival here. Well, one of the breweries here locally, Payette Brewing, they were doing a sour ale festival, which is all sour ales. I'm like, I'm not going to that because I can't drink sour ales only, right? It's going to tear me up. And I just kept thinking, who actually goes to these things and enjoys it, right? You're going to drink a couple sips and then toss it. You're not going to be able to drink a full glass of these and drink any number of, to make up the cost of getting in there, right? You need to drink a lot of beer You know, I can drink a lot of sours, especially the ones that are super acidic and tough to drink. So yeah, those are tough festivals. And yeah, you need to have a Costco sized tubs on the table to handle all that acid.
Definitely do.
Okay. Guess what, Mike? You're now back on the hot seat because it's time for the Brew Buzz. The Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. This week, we want to learn all about MYTHK Brewing. So to start off, how did MYTHK Brewing start? Kind of a broad
MYTHK Brewing
question.
started kind of the opposite of how we ended up. It was something that I've wanted to do with friends sitting home brewing on a porch forever. Something we used to talk about all the time. We didn't necessarily have MYTHK Brewing in mind when we were formulating it in those days, but it was kind of the end goal. We were inspired by these farmhouse breweries. We were inspired by just the fun of like fresh hop harvest ales and doing weird projects in wood and alternate fermentation and all that kind of stuff. And then, I met Eric, the artist, and got those pieces because they fit into the vision that was evolving for us, and just started grabbing things along the way throughout my career. When I started in the brewing industry, I never really intended to stay at the place I started. It wasn't the goal at the time. I was trying to get my foot in the door and get out to do other stuff. Ended up spending close to a decade working for somebody else, and there was a lot of fulfillment there, and we had a lot of cool opportunities and experiences and awards and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't ours. So whenever you're working for somebody else, there's always that like fulfillment of creation, but even with the most control somebody can give you, it's not exactly executing your own creative vision. It's tunneling it through somebody else's.
Yeah.
So we started out wanting to do this giant farm brewery that you would come out to and it would convert you, and doing these other satellite tap rooms in cities to bring people close to the brand and encourage them to make the trip to visit us. And again, with the mythology, one of my best friends is a film programmer and critic, and the other one is an artist, and we sort of kicked around those discussions forever and ever, and all the things that we liked about what other people were doing at breweries and what we thought could be better, and passion for beer styles that weren't hip right now, and all that sort of jazz. So all of that came through. COVID came around, the world got turned upside down. The place I was working, we had sort of a difference in vision, and I ended up splitting ways with them, and found myself in a position of like, well, it's my 40th birthday coming up. If I don't do this, then I'm never going to do it, because as soon as I get to somebody else who's paying me as well as I was, I'll be comfortable again. And if I'm comfortable, this will remain a pipe dream. So we got uncomfortable and we did it. So here we are. I was fortunate to have a friend who is pretty much our single solitary investor, and he made a very large, to me, but not very large in the grand scheme of breweries, investment to get us off the ground. And he's been a great ally and sort of helping shape that stuff. And we just, I know a lot of talented people. We put a lot of focus on working with small artists and specialists and people that do things in a way that maybe big companies wouldn't, because they either couldn't afford to, or it was too risky. And we, I think one of our biggest strengths in this market is the fact that we're small. Like, I am the sole employee of the company. We can take risks if we eat it on something. Hopefully we won't, haven't so far, but I'm the only person that's going to be destroyed for it. So it goes back to that. If you don't try it, you won't know if it's going to work mentality. I don't think you should do that if you don't have some years of experience in the industry. That's kind of the caveat I always give everyone, is like, you get on the like new brewery forums and stuff, and you're like, wait. have you commercially made a beer before? Do that first. Take the risk on somebody else.
Yeah, but my Mr. Beer was delicious. We're ready.
Yeah, like there are some fantastic homebrewers floating around. Running a business is the fastest way to ruin your enjoyment of homebrewing.
It's the fastest way to ruin your enjoyment of just about anything.
Yeah, when you turn your hobby into work, you better really like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of was like, hey, what if we just focused on making cores? Like, it seems like such a dumb statement, but in a realm where I was previously pressured to keep 35 or 40 beers on tap every week.
Oh my gosh.
Just and always have something new and that sort of a thing. I was like, and the market is increasingly moving away from it. I was like, what if we just made beers that people really like to drink? And instead of being the hype thing you were running to the store for, I was the 4-pack you picked up to make sure that you had 4 beers you were going to drink tonight.
And that's smart, because I enjoy trying new beers, but the last 2 years I've been doing what you just said, is that I'll try a beer that interests me, but I'm going and picking up 6-packs or 4-packs of beers locally that I just know I enjoy, so that I have that enjoyment, those core beers that I can do. And one of the Norse themed beers or breweries here in the Boise area is called Mad Swede. And that's what they do exactly. They make core beers that they have all the time, or they rotate in through the seasons. And then they, every so often, they'll throw in a new beer that they're trying something. But you know what? That new beer that they're trying is not another hazy IPA. It is some oat ale or something unique that is not the same thing everyone else is brewing. And I just appreciate what they do, because they make beers that are good drinking beers. They're not trying to, have all these fancy bells and whistle things to get everyone on board. They're just making good beer. And when I come there, I know I can order one of 6 beers and I'm going to enjoy every one of them because I've had them over and over again.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Is like, we ended up in the place, and maybe it's, I'm getting old, but it comes back around to that. Like, yeah, man, most of my drinking happens on my porch. I have a couple buddies over. We're going to drink some beers. We had a kid a couple of years ago, so I lost my drinking buddy and my wife. I have a fridge full of bombers that are waiting to be split with somebody.
Same here. So, I'm the same way.
And that's so we came back to like, we've had it all. We haven't had it all. There's still some adventures I'd love to go have, but I think we have entered a phase in craft beer, and I call it like kind of like third phase, where we had our big breweries happen in like the late 70s, early 80s, and then really explode in the 90s. And then we had like second generation breweries where we started seeing the emergence of like the Cigar Cities and Boulevards and all those guys that got up to be pretty big companies. And now the guys that kind of were the ground floor employees of those companies can't be a shift brewer and feed their families anymore. So they're either have moved up into management or they've moved out to do their own thing. And I think that's where we're really seeing a renaissance of awesome, cool, niche breweries popping up again, which is something that I think we really shook out, ironically, in the past 10 years. So I'm super blessed to be in this sort of awkward position where we got forced to do it a different way, but maybe the market will tolerate us because of that approach. So
Good. Well, it's turning out some good beers so far, and surprising ones too. So Mike, what's the story behind naming the brewery MYTHK?
So MYTHK Brewing, and we may get deeper into that as time goes on, but again, very much like kind of coming back to that slogan of like a story in every glass. Like, I'm a big proponent of the mentality, and really even just the historic fact that beer has been a cultural driver and really an organizer of society since it was a thing. There's a great book called The History of the World in 6 Classes. Really quick, short read, but it follows basically 6 different beverages that have shaped the world in ways that are sort of undeniable. But from political parties that started in beer halls, America forming around pubs, all that sort of stuff. I really like the bringing together of people through beer. And as we've kind of moved away from like just the binge drinking frat boy culture, and had the opportunity in craft beer to really sit down and appreciate the product and the atmosphere of a space, and the gathering aspect of it is a huge part of it for me. From the MYTHK side, I think that was just sort of an extension of like all those hero stories and cautionary tales and all the things throughout different cultures that kind of echoed to me in beer. So when you go to, there's a Lithuanian brewery, and the brewer there is a woman who literally as a child was like burned in a house fire, and she woke up in or beside her own coffin, and she is like the queen of this beer style and like one of the last remaining producers of it. Like that's a story you couldn't write. And this is sort of the same thing. I think those cultural mythologies resonate in us in a way that kind of help us identify who we are. And I think beer is a big part of that cultural identity for a lot of people. So it's kind of a desire to harken back to that a little bit. And it's like, what's more metal than Fenrir eating the world, or, the art style, being able to draw from that. So we've flirted with the idea of like, if we just really run the Norse angle into the ground, we might branch out into other mythologies over time. Actually, our original mock label was based on like the flight of Icarus. And we had like one of our like home brewer beers back in those days when we were sitting around the table was based around like the legend of Selkies, and which are Scottish like water spirit creatures, all that sort of stuff. So end of the day, take some D&D nerds and metal kids and history buffs and give them some beer, and that's where we ended up.
Good way to start it.
Yeah. Well, so you call yourself, on the website, you mentioned that you're a phantom brewery. In other terms, a gypsy brewery. I'm guessing the same thing. And as you explained on the website, you are a tribe without a home. We exist in the ether with no physical location tying us to a specific path. So because of not having your own brick and mortar facility, what are the challenges and the benefits to that?
So beyond my flair for the melodramatic there, the immediate benefit is I don't have to have $1 million to put a facility together, which I don't have. I've been a brewer for a decade, which anybody in the industry knows that's the only reason. Like, I haven't been hanging out with the finance bros. There are some good ones floating around, but there's also a lot that I probably will butt heads with pretty hard. So, in that regard, it was a necessity for us in this phase. And then from the other regard, I have been a brewer for 10 years, and I know a lot of people in the industry and have a pretty good sense of who's doing stuff that I really respect. And if those people have space in their production, then I can help them out by utilizing it. And they make some money, and I make some money, and I make some beer. So that's been sort of the great balance, is I can pick and choose where I'm working out of. The additional challenge is really finding the space. That's kind of like if somebody's crushing it and all of a sudden their production is ramping up, then maybe we lose an opportunity to temporarily or permanently keep making product in the location. So we're always on the lookout for the next hole to fill, so to speak. But it's 100%. Hey, we didn't plan to start this way, but it made the most sense, and it was a viable path forward for us. So
yeah, that makes sense. So when you go to these remote locations that accept you to come in, are you brewing the beer yourself on their systems? Are you working with them? Or
so usually what I do is I'll head in and kind of like co-brew the brew day. there is some difficulty in like just walking into somebody else's system. Everybody's house has their own sort of niche things that are different about them. I'm pretty close with the Sideward crew in that regard. So I've been in there super local to me. So I've been fortunate to go in and really participate in that stuff more so. But at the end of the day, like I look at it as if I'm the head brewer, they're my shift brewer. You know, at the end of the day, I would like to be the guy on the stand more so. But for now, this is how we do it. The commerce crew is really sort of set up to do that sort of thing. They do the exact same thing for a number of major brands that maybe aren't quite as transparent about it, or don't have the ability to let's say you're a European brand and you come to the States, like the freshness of Terrace Bulba could be an issue because it's had to sit in a shipping container and come across the Atlantic, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of businessy reasons why we do it one way. If I could go and brew every batch, and hopefully one day I will, or somebody that I've trained will, that would be the ideal outcome. But I've also gotten used to, like, there's a thing in brewing, I think, especially when you start in a really small brewery, where it's very hard to relinquish the brew stand, even to the guys you've trained. Like, I love them. I know they know it. I know that I'd rather be mad at myself for screwing it up than them for screwing it up. And I know that it's an inevitability that someone's going to screw it up. Yeah. It's just how life works. Like, there's going to be mistakes. These guys have been crushing it for us. So we've been stoked about that. We try to participate in as much of the process as possible, but there is that removed for now.
So how do you come up with your recipes? I mean, do you brew a small batch on a home brewery? And you try to scale it up?
At this point, I don't really. I've been doing this long enough that looking at the paper, I have a pretty good idea of the outcome, and those guys have as well. So we can translate it. So formulation wise, we sort of sit down with the concept of what we'd like to make, and we kind of see how it fits in, at least for now. And I fear that we'll struggle with that a little more as we expand our lineup, but we've really tried to tie the beers back to the stories with the label art and all of that sort of stuff. So at least there's a flirting connection between the two things. But yeah, I sit down with my laptop and write a recipe, and with things like the choke cherry and lavender stem, like I process all the lavender by hand in my house, and then we mail it off to the brewery so that they have the ingredients. We do all the testing and measurements and experimentation stuff here, but as far as making the actual base beer, I haven't had to do that in a long time. Even in the previous brewery I was working for, we put it to paper and we make the beer. So, batch to batch we'll make tweaks, but we haven't landed too far from the mark yet. So
both the beers I had tonight, did those land exactly how you imagined, or did
the pumpkin ale landed exactly where we imagined? The oak thorn Eichtenier landed. The maple was the surprise. That was a surprise even to us, that we found popped out when we started doing the experimentation with the stuff in the house, and then it popped up even more once it had the interplay. Because when I was experimenting with it at home, I was using somebody else's base sour just as like a dosing rate thing. And it was a really well-made, clean Berliner base that we were experimenting against, but didn't really get the full picture of like that fermentation influence on it and what our base recipe would be different in it. So that was a pleasant surprise that kind of emerged from a flavor profile we sort of expected otherwise, but yeah.
Well, Mike, what is the mission of MYTHK Brewing, and how do you guys, like, how do you differentiate yourself from, say, other Florida breweries?
We like to do that by sacrificing all the taproom sales. No, I mean, the mission is always to kind of be our own thing. You know, it's really a spot for us to experiment and do some fun things that are a little closer to our heart. I couldn't read you the mission off the website in my brain if I wanted to. I'm sure there's something eloquent there.
But it was, yeah, it was a
But,
manifesto you had
you know,
there, and
it's,
I liked it too.
when we get in there, it's, to me, the beer should be the experience. Like, I want you, there's a beer I really love, Regale Privat, and what I love about it is it's a German Pilsner, and if you put it in front of the nerdiest beer guy in the world, it's won like best beer in the world a couple of times. And you can pick it apart and you can dig into every aspect of it. And you can also hand it to your dad who doesn't know fucking anything about beer. He'll love it. It's a great clean lager. And the eloquence of that to me is the beauty of beer. When you can make something that people can find that connection to, no matter what their level of education on it is, it's super impressive to me. And we've really found, like, as you mentioned, we met at an oddities market in Tampa. A lot of the audience there, some of them know more about beer than you would expect, especially being out of Tampa. But a lot of our audience is the people who are like, oh man, I love the Vikings TV show. This has this thing on it. Picking up cool beer in the Haji Mart up here. And, the fact that they can pick it up and enjoy it, this is important to me as my brewer friends being like, no, man, I think you knocked this out of the park.
Yep.
So that's definitely kind of our goal, is we want you to enjoy our product and we want you to think about it, but we want it to be something that's not disruptive of the space of where you're enjoying it. So it's more important to me that you sat down and had a beer with friends than that you thought about my beer. But if you want to think about my beer, I want you to have something to think about.
Please think about it.
Well, I will say that I would enjoy drinking this sitting down with my friends, but I also appreciate that I can think about it while I'm drinking alone as well.
Sure.
This is not your standard beers that you just get off the shelf. Most of the time when I go and grab new things from either local breweries or regional breweries or across the nation breweries, it's very rare nowadays that I will grab something and will be like, wow, this is great. And I miss that. And that's kind of why I've gone back to just going to things that I enjoy, because I want to enjoy beer, right? I want to sit down and I want to enjoy it for what it is. But you definitely have made me think of the 3 beers I've had now. None of them were what I expected them to be, except the pumpkin ale was closest thing, because it is a pumpkin ale, but done in a way that I hadn't experienced a pumpkin ale, typically. But I do appreciate having some of that cerebral beer drinking experience as well. And if I wasn't by myself thinking about it, I could be with my friends, not thinking about it and enjoying their company and your beer as well.
That's exactly what we're going for. It's trying to find that space where beauty is simple sometimes, and I don't want you to have to dig in if you don't feel like it, but I want you to know there's something there if you do.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to skip down to my next question, Chris. I'll let you finish off the last 2. So pretty generic question here. We already established that you don't have your own brick and mortar. You are bouncing around from brewery friends that are producing the beer for you. On that case, without having your own facility, can you give us an idea of how much beer right now you're producing? I know that you're distributing solely in Florida.
Yeah, we're just in Florida right now. Our primary production stuff is 30 barrel batches. So it's a nice place where you can usually move through that month to month, even without like it. We really, even just this last week, it's the first time we've entered major chains.
Okay.
So, and by that, I mean ABC Total Wine. That's
Oh,
that.
nice.
We've had our first round of ABC orders. We've had a couple of Total Wine orders, maybe like the last like 15 days, maybe a week is a little overestimating. But we really wanted to start out with our feet in deep craft stuff where people would be a little more open to looking at weirder styles or more interesting twists on styles, and not immediately being like, oh man, I thought I was getting a Voodoo Ranger and this is not what I want.
Choke
And
cherries.
that's
What
totally
the hell is
fine.
that?
But I don't want to, like, we didn't want to have our market entrance be the audience that was a super casual beer drinker, just because at the end of the day, I want a foundation of people that are going to get it first.
Yeah.
And I think we found that audience. It's definitely been slow growth by design. But yeah, we tend to float between the Pumpkin Ale is a 15 barrel batch. It was really kind of a whim of, oh, fall is rolling back around. I've been wanting to do this for the brand. Tapped on a few people and got a result, and was fortunate to do that in collaboration with my brother's shop, who has a sort of astounding audience reach. So I was like, well, if we do it with them and they push it and we have that co-brand, it's basically sold out. I think there's a few cases left in the shop and a couple of kegs. But in the first week we placed, like, I'd say north of 80% of it.
Nice.
So that's really fun. The businessman in me is like, man, and I wish I had 30 barrels of it. But
yeah, but then you might have 15 barrels
people are
left.
going to embrace this part of me. I was very stoked to hear that.
Yeah, then you'll sell 16 barrels of it and be sitting on it till next year.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. The first time we ever made an Oktoberfest, many years ago, we made it in the very traditional, like, make it in March, lager it till October, put it on and set like early September kind of thing, like along the original Oktoberfest, and it sat on the taps again until March. And it was just like, well, we're never doing this again. And the market has changed so much on people's willingness to embrace lager and some other stuff. And we got our shit under our feet a little more now and figured out that you need to make pumpkin ale in August in order to sell it through by October 31, because on November 1st, no one cares anymore.
That's right.
So we've learned our lessons to get there, but yeah, 15 to 30 barrels is the goal right now. I will probably keep it there, because if I start expanding production out of state, I will probably still want to just do that production in the other state, so we can not have to worry about the logistics of kicking it around between distributors and multiple different brewery locations that we're working out of. And the freshness factor is still maintained. We keep an extra couple of weeks on it by not having to reship. So that's our current strategy.
That works out pretty good then. That's I like that idea, because you're right, it doesn't have to sit in a hot truck for however long.
Some of the best beers we get from Europe suffer just the fact that it has to come from Europe, and there's nothing that can be done about it. But by the time it's left the brewery, it's got a week or two on it. By the time it's left the port, it's got a month on it. By the time it hits the shelves over here, it's maybe got 2 months on it. So that window closes up really fast.
Yeah, and then nobody ever really touches those imports as quickly as we.
Yeah, and you never know how long they've been there. Fortunately, a lot of those beer styles do well with time, but there's a couple of beautiful beers that just you have to go have over there.
Well, then I guess I know where I have to go travel for my next beer trip, because it was nice going to Fort Lauderdale today, but Germany could always be in the mix too. So what do you have as far as like and I guess if you wanted to call it something, I don't know if it would be cliche is the word to use, but like a business plan as far as how do you want to see your brewery evolve over the next, let's say, 5 years?
So I would say our general hope is that sort of like vision that we had discussed prior. Our goal is to sort of reverse engineer it. So I would like to see us move into a potential tap space. we've really discussed, and I don't like overly talking about it because there's a few things about it I think are really cool that no one's doing, and I don't want to advertise that until I can do it myself.
Fair enough.
But long story long, yeah, I think we've looked at the idea of essentially doing those satellite bar phase, and some of the things we would include in that really re-echo the values of the brand, first person, before we got into the full production space side. Just because if this continues to work for us where we are, it gives us a few dedicated distribution points to kind of have a little better control over our brand in the wild. And it doesn't, again, require us to go all the way up. If I magically win the lottery tomorrow, then there will be a cool farm brewery somewhere.
Sweet. Let me know
that would
when
be
it
our
opens.
goal. Like I'm still debating on if it will stay in Florida. I'm a Florida native. All my friends are here, like all our support structure is here, but man, I do really like autumn. And it would be cool to live somewhere where I'll sit on my porch in the dead of winter and in the heat of summer. And I want people to have that experience of drinking on the porch of a tap room and doing the outside stuff that ties into like sort of that Norse spiritualism and all that kind of fun, like giant campfires and all those fun things we could do on a farm. But I don't think I can convince half of Florida to go outside between March and September. So
well, hey, it's worth a shot. But yeah, I'm with you. Had that conversation this week. It'd be nice to be somewhere where it's a little cooler sometimes.
I really love Appalachia in that regard, and but again, there's a lot of great breweries up there, and there's a lot of competition floating around. So
yeah, but you have that anywhere you go for the most part.
It's true. So, I mean, I think we have like outside of Tampa, I think are like that whole like Asheville, Eastern Tennessee scene. Increasingly like Charlotte and Western Carolinas kind of stuff, and like South Carolina really too, emerging on the map with some really killer breweries. But there's a cluster of great stuff there that's could be great to tag along with, but could also be death. So
yeah, and even in the middle in Jacksonville, that place is starting to come up a little bit too. So,
well, Florida, we always say in the band days, like you can tour the whole country or you can tour Texas or Florida. But if you live in Pennsylvania, you can play in 10 states around you in the same distance it takes me to go from Miami to Tallahassee. So the whole another logistical nightmare.
Yeah. Well, since we are an educational podcast, Mike, what's one thing you learned about owning a brewery or brewing beer that you'd want to share with our listeners?
Don't do it for the money. I mean, I knew that, but I really know it now. It's like, I always tell people, it's like, there are a lot of people in the industry, maybe not a lot, but there are some notable things I've seen in the industry where you start to see this like sort of corporate influence of what we would call investor breweries, and the whispers between brewers and back of house, where people are coming in because they have money and they like the idea of owning a brewery and they've got a cool space and it's sexy, and they're not wrong. All of those things are really cool, as long as you don't expect to turn a profit for a few years and maybe never. I very much subscribe to the like, my version of success is, hey, is everyone with me, lives in a home, eating food, has health care, is being taken care of, is fulfilled in their job, then we're crushing it. And growth to me is about supporting that structure rather than supporting shareholders. Future shareholders, please don't hold this against me. But that's at the end of the day, people first, beer second, profits third. If we're making enough money to keep it going and everyone's eating, we're winning. We're just trying to live our lives and make cool products. And if that grows into something where we can make it bigger, cool. I'd love to have a second house somewhere, but it's not it's not a requirement.
It's a want. It's not necessarily a need. Yeah. I like that.
Well, excellent answers to all the questions, Mike. You were a trooper.
He studied. He studies his answers.
You
the note
prepared.
cards.
I was shocked at how much. Yeah, you knew everything we were going to ask.
That's because I sent him a list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Always
All
read the
right.
list, guys.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Mike, we have really appreciated having you on the show. We also appreciate you providing the beers for us to drink on the show. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
We're going to go ahead and I don't want to keep you too long. We're going to go ahead and close the show out. But before we close the show out, we always like to give an opportunity to raise a glass to someone or some people you'd like to raise a glass to. So, Mike, is there anyone out there that you'd like to raise a glass to tonight that supports you or you can't live without?
Definitely. Unfortunately, my glass is now empty. But if it were not, I would
always
raise a
use the
glass
can.
I would raise a glass to the guys who make the beer and are on the floor on the daily basis, helping that happen. I'm very fortunate to have those people there. I raise a glass to my brother and the crew over at Prometheus Esoterica, who worked on this pumpkin ale with us and have been like super awesome about lending their audience to us and helping us cross over and get into some niche areas that we might not have otherwise reached. And I'll raise a glass to my family who tolerates all of this.
Exactly.
Because
yes.
I'm always gone and always working. So
tolerance is key. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Well, I want to raise a glass to Mike. Again, we appreciate you coming on here with us, and especially
I appreciate you all having me. Yeah.
Being flexible to meet me over at Champions Gate the other day, so we could grab these beers from you. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna head out and go grab some beers. And my girlfriend's like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Champions Gate. Which, Denny, I don't know if you know this.
I have no idea.
He and I basically met in the middle of a 2-hour drive.
Oh, or Lampa.
Wait, each of you guys had
so we each went an hour and met in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, stop at a gas station. My dumbass went to the wrong 7-Eleven. I'm the one that chose the 7-Eleven. And it was like 3 blocks away was where we were actually going to meet. But no, we really appreciate you coming on with us, man. Like I told you, we do it for fun, but we do appreciate getting to interact with our craft beer community. And thank you for the beers, man. These were fantastic.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, guys. And it really shows that you actually care about it. So that's always the best way to talk about it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to this evening?
All right. I'll raise a glass to our Patreon toast of the night goes to Amanda and Kevin Argauer. Thank you for your Patreon support. Also, Mike, I've already raised my glass, but I want to raise it again to you. Great interview. Really enjoyed talking with you, learning about your craft beer journey and MYTHK Brewing. And I can't wait to see how MYTHK evolves over the next few years. And I hope you actually get to live out your dream and have that farmhouse brewery of your own, because I think you're going to, use that farmhouse well in making some very unique and good beers. So cheers.
You got some ideas. Yeah. Thank you.
And the last toast goes out to Jimmy Buffett. Man, we lost Jimmy Buffett this week. I don't know. I don't have much to say except everyone loves. I mean, I love there's Jimmy Buffett songs, good karaoke tunes, good rock band.
Integral part of Florida for sure.
Oh,
yeah. So cheers to Jimmy. May he forever have at least a half full glass out there.
Absolutely.
And of course, being a former serviceman, I always want to raise my glass and thank all those who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. military services. I'm already slurring my words, protecting our freedoms. I hope all those that are deployed are able to return home safely to their families very soon. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and give a toast to our sponsor?
We want to raise our glasses to the folks over at Tin Tackers, the provider of sweet metal beer signs that will make your walls happy. Tin Tackers has a vast selection of embossed aluminum beer signs, perfect for your garage, home bar, or man cave. They have the biggest selection with the best prices. And they also have a mini Tacker of the Month club, a club just for craft beer lovers who collect tin tackers. A surprise in your mailbox every month. Go visit their website at tintackers.com and use the promo code TAPTHECRAFT at checkout to save 10% on your entire order and to let them know we sent you.
All right. You can find the beers and the links to articles mentioned in the show on the show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And it is last call. Time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening. We ask you to please tell a friend. about our show. And of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
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 All right. For those of you that are still on with us on Facebook, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We will see you guys in another 3 weeks because we are recording on an off week, aren't we? No.
No, we're recording next week for the week after.
I don't even know what day it is.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in 1 week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week on the 11th. If it wasn't for my phone, I'd never know what day it was. But guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see y'all real soon.